Good morning, everybody. Here we are. We're actually starting inside the Sefer today, touching a city's soul, Kuntres Bikkur Chicago. Very, very, very excited to get started on it. I hope everybody had some time or made some time to take a look at least at some of the sichas, which are really like these beautiful stories with a lot of detail, which is amazing how the Frierdiker Rebbe had remembered so much detail of people's names, and it's just incredible. Okay, so we are currently on page 40 of our book. Already made a bracha earlier. Okay. Okay, so we are going to discuss a pasuk as per the usual. And this pasuk has 4 parts. We're going to analyze those 4 parts. We're going to figure out what they mean, how they're related to each other, and what they mean in regards to our lives. And again, the same thing as we did with previous maamerim, that we, in the beginning, there's a pasuk. Then we're going to go through a whole like mindset, mentality, life transformation through seeing things from a different perspective and understanding them from a different perspective. And then at the end, we're going to, in a certain sense, tie it back in to the pasuk and see the clarity through it. Again, the style, and I'm giving everyone this morning a lot, the style is slightly different than our Rebbe's maamerim. The Frierdiker Rebbe tends to go a lot more zoomed into specific topics at a time to like get that clarity in one specific topic, and then he like, in a certain sense, zooms back out and like, okay, continuing on. This is the first maamer in the Sefer. Yes, correct. This is the first maamer. In the previous pages, the first 40 pages of the book are the sichas that the Frierdiker Rebbe gave over on Shabbos before going to Chicago. So that Shabbos he spent in New York, and the maamer was the first maamer that was given in Chicago after the Frierdiker Rebbe arrived in Chicago. So again, we have to also realize that the Frierdiker Rebbe is talking to a crowd that they have, most of them have some sort of like, positive relationship, sweetness. They were very, very, very excited to have the Frierdiker Rebbe in Chicago, but many of them were also struggling to keep that Yiddishkeit alive, that fire alive. And that's one of the reasons why we're, rekindling the spark, so to speak. That's really, it's one of the main points of the reasons why the Frierdiker Rebbe went to Chicago. Okay, so the pasuk goes like this. It's in Tehillim, and it says, trust in Hashem and do good. Dwell in the land and be nourished by your faith, right? So it seems like it has 4 parts. Trust in Hashem, do good, dwell in the land, and be nourished by your faith, okay? The pasuk includes 4 clauses: trusting in Hashem, doing good, living a tranquil life, right? So it's not just living, dwell in your land in a peaceful and tranquil way, and being nourished by faith, right? So those are 4 parts. 2 of the 4 are instructions and cautions, and 2 are assurance, kind of like a promise. So if you trust in Hashem and you do good, then you will dwell in the land and be nourished by your faith, okay? Trusting in Hashem and doing good are instructions and a caution. One who does these 2 things is guaranteed a life of tranquility, and that he will be nourished by his faith. Okay, so we have it's pretty clear so far. Rashi explains the pasuk as follows: trusting in Hashem, and don't say, if I don't rob and steal, or if I give charity to a poor person, how will I support myself? Oh, so one second. If we don't have the Torah perspective, if we don't have moral background, if we don't have the proper education, whether it's, from a Torah perspective, from a Torah perspective, then some might think, maybe the best way, and we've seen this in history, so many people have, killed or stolen or, all of these different things, and that's, in their mind, it makes sense that should be the proper way to do things, because if I don't, how will I survive, right? So Rashi explains it here. Trust in Hashem and don't say, if I don't rob or steal, or if I give tzedakah to a poor person, how will I support myself? Many of us have a yetzer hara that holds us back from giving tzedakah, because that's $1 that I gave away is $1 that I don't have. And it seemingly makes sense, according to nature. $1 out of my pocket means $1 out of my pocket. It's $1 I don't have. So Rashi explains it very clearly that many of us, not us, but I'm saying many people in different time periods in history have felt that robbing and stealing is the only way to survive. And if I'm not robbing and stealing, how will I survive? How could I really do this? And on the flip side, if I give tzedakah, I'm losing the money I do have. How does this make any sense? Rashi continues, and do good, then you will dwell in the land for many years, right? So Rashi explains, let's not have this mindset. Let's not have this mentality that it's, every penny, every dollar that's in my pocket is meant to be in my pocket because, or I have to come and take it from someone else's pocket because chas v'shalom, if I don't take it, how will I have it? And so when we do good, when we do trust in Hashem and we do good, then we will dwell in the land for many years. So we have to change that mindset. We can't live with that mindset. We have to give tzedakah and give it properly. We have to earn the money that we earn in a good and wholesome and righteous way. Nourished by your faith, you will eat and be supported because of the reward for the faith you had in Hashem, and you relied on Him and did good. Okay? So what are we saying? We're saying that if we trust in Hashem, meaning we don't steal, we give tzedakah, we do things as we're meant to, we're menschlich people, right? We're right, wholesome, well-thinking human beings, and we do things in the right way, and we do good, we actually do it, okay? We trust in Hashem that He's going to take care of us, and we do good, then we will dwell in the land for many years, and we will be nourished by our faith. You will eat and be supported because of the reward for the faith you had in Hashem, and you relied on Him and did good, right? So Hashem will take care of us because that faith that we put in, to trust in Hashem, that by doing the right thing, Hashem is going to give us brachas, that faith is going to be what sustains us. The pasuk assures a person that through faith in Hashem, trusting in Him, and expressing that faith in acts of goodness, not only will he earn a livelihood in a legitimate way, and with the wherewithal to do charitable works, he will even dwell in the land. He will live a life of tranquility. Okay? So by trusting in Hashem, by really putting Hashem as our number one priority, by realizing that it may not make sense to do things the right way. It may not make sense as certain, sometimes we might think, oh, this opportunity that's, it's not so kosher, it's not so, it's cutting corners, or all of these things. That opportunity might give me a lot of parnasa, it might give me a lot of opportunity, it might give me a lot of, but in reality, it's not that's not what's going to feed and sustain us. By trusting in Hashem, by saying, Hashem, I trust in you, you'll take care of me as long as I do the right things. By trusting in Hashem and doing good, making the right decisions, whether it's with your parnasa, with your, relationships, all these things, doing the right thing, going Hashem's path will essentially keep you in your land and be a tranquil life. It'll give you a good life. And not only that, but it'll feed and sustain you. Yeah. And you will be able to live a peaceful and tranquil life. The four general concepts mentioned in this pasuk can be subsumed under two general categories: faith or belief, emunah, and trust, bitachon, right? So many of us have had, over the past, Baruch Hashem, few years, we've had a lot of exposure to the concepts of emunah and bitachon, thanks to Rabbi Shalom Mordechai Bashkin. I mean, he didn't make it up, but it's become a lot more prevalent in our society, and us speaking and talking about it and trying to figure out the difference. So I want to clarify. I want to preempt this. So emunah is the belief that Hashem exists, that Hashem is one, that Hashem is it. Emunah is knowing Hashem exists. Hashem exists. I mean, you can't say that, but Hashem is Hashem, and it's not made up. It's not made up in our imagination. That's, in a certain sense, that's emunah. Making it very, very short. Obviously, this could be a much deeper conversation. And the concept of bitachon is trusting that Hashem is taking care of you. trusting that Hashem is going to do as you expect, so to speak. And again, it doesn't mean expect upside down. And we, if you'd like to hear more about bitachon, we didn't finish it. We'll mitzvah Hashem finish it soon, but we do have a whole course on Shar Bitachon in our YouTube channel. You can check it out over there. But again, that's like the shorter version of what's the difference between emunah, faith or belief. Just knowing and believing and having true, a settled mind about the fact that the Eibishter is here, the Eibishter is in charge, the Eibishter is taking care of us, the Eibishter created the world and continues to create the world. That's emunah. Okay? Bitachon is being that the Eibishter creates the world and he has full power to do whatever he can, whatever he wants. So therefore, I can trust in Hashem that Hashem will take care of me. I can trust in Hashem that my paycheck will show up. I can trust in Hashem that just like Hashem Mordechai Rabash can trust in Hashem, I can trust in Hashem. I can have bitachon that Hashem will take me out of the skulls. That's bitachon. Bitachon is knowing that it'll take us to the next level. Okay. The reason for first cautioning us about bitachon before emunah, right? Because we said in the pasuk, trust in Hashem. Betach b'Hashem, right? Trust in Hashem was the first one. Then do good, dwell in your land, and be nourished by your faith. So the last thing we say, the first thing we say was bitachon, and the last thing we say was emunah. Okay, so why are we talking about bitachon first? Seemingly, you have to know that Hashem exists. You have to know that Hashem exists. Again, I said it, but like you have to know that Hashem is Hashem. And then you can trust in him. Well, why would you trust in something that you don't really know that is there, right? You don't have full belief that Hashem is there. So why are we talking about bitachon first in this pasuk as opposed to emunah? Okay, that's the question we're at. Now we're going to turn the page 42, top of page 42. Okay, the reason for first cautioning us about bitachon before emunah is explained by the Ramban. Not everyone who believes in Hashem trusts in him, but everyone who trusts in Hashem certainly believes in him. Genius. I mean, like, amazing. Think about it, okay? If you believe in Hashem, you believe that Hashem is recreating the world every single second, and Hashem is here, and Hashem is truly everywhere. We could sing the whole song. But 1 second, does that mean that at the end of the day, when I put my head on my pillow, do I really think Hashem's going to save me? Hashem's taking care of my paycheck. Hashem is taking care of my children. I know that my children, they go to school and I'm not there with them at all times, but Hashem's taking care of them. Hashem's taking care of every single one of us. Not necessarily. One does not necessarily lead to the other. Having emunah, knowing that the Eibishter is in charge, doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of the day, you yourself trust in him. It's two separate pieces. But if you're the type of person that lechatchila, you already trust in him. You know the Eibishter is in charge, and you know not just he's in charge, but he's taking care of you. He's taking care of you every single moment and every single breath you take. Every single breath you take is because Hashem is giving you that breath. That type of bitachon, living with that level of bitachon, already gives you the emunah. It already means you already believe in Hashem. So somebody who has emunah not necessarily has bitachon, but someone who lives with bitachon, someone who lives with that type of relationship with the Eibishter, that they know and they trust that Hashem is taking care of them, obviously knows that Hashem is there. Obviously knows that the person they're trusting is the Eibishter. So they obviously have emunah already. So why are we talking about emunah? Why are we talking about bitachon before the emunah? Because someone who has bitachon for sure has emunah, but someone who has emunah, lav dafka, has bitachon. Okay? Accordingly, the Torah always cautions us more regarding bitachon than regarding emunah. So not only is one a given for the other, but in reality, the Torah is usually telling us more about bitachon than about emunah. Why is that? Emunah is revealed in all Jews. Even when, on occasion, a yid's emunah is concealed, it can be aroused through minimal stimulation. No great effort is required. By contrast, strenuous toil is required for bitachon. A person must labor so that his bitachon is not only professed verbally, but it's expressed in actual practice. Okay, so what are we saying? We're saying here that to have a munah, to have a sarusa, to have like an inspiration, a boost of inspiration, a knowledge, a concept of realizing that the Eibusher is running the world, it can easily be done. I mean, we learned some, we wake up and generally we're thinking about how tired we were, how hungry we are, what are the crazy things we need to do today, getting dressed quickly, and we have a very in this world mindset. We're not really thinking about, holy spiritual things, but that's the whole process of davening. Every step of davening gets us more connected and in tune with godliness. It gets us more connected and in tune with our real essence, not just the like day-to-day grind. But again, when we wake up, we're not necessarily thinking about it. But to get ourselves to realize that the Eibusher is in charge, that Hashem creates the mountains and the water and the this and the that and my pillow and my bed and all of these things, my water bottle, Hashem creates it. All it takes is a little bit of learning Chassidus. It takes a little bit of davening. Learn some Pirush Milas. You'll know that the entire davening is a process of kind of like a meditation to get you to that realization, right? But when it comes to bitachon, to get to the point that bitachon is not just spoken. It's not just, oh, I trust in Hashem, I trust in Hashem. That beautiful song we would keep hearing. It's not just spoken, and this is one of the things Shal Mordechai Rabashkin spoke about, that bitachon is when in your heart, you're not having like these palpitations. When in your heart, you feel confident about it. You feel calm about it. You trust in Hashem so much that you don't let the fear, you don't let the Yetzer Hara come in and affect you in such a way, right? You know that Hashem's taking care of you. You know that Hashem is fully, embracing you and the things that you need and taking care of those things, right? So trust in Hashem. Say, okay, bitachon, emunah bitachon, to say those words, it's easy. It's you could say it's cheap, you could say bitachon all the time. But to actually live with it, to actually live your life with this level of bitachon, to actually live your life when you walk down the street with a sense of confidence, when you do your life's decisions with that kind of mentality, that is a whole new level. That is real bitachon, and it takes some work. It takes a lot of work. We've learned, and again, anybody who would like, we covered a big chunk of Shar Bitachon in our share. It's on our YouTube channel, Living Chassidus, and that type of bitachon, it takes hard work. It takes a lot of work to live with that, to trust in Hashem, that even if you give a nice sizable amount to tzedakah, the Eibusher is going to take care of you. You're going to be able to pay your bills at the end. All of this is really, it's a whole other level. Emunah, knowing that the Hashem is in charge, just daven. Learn some Chassidus, pay attention to Pirush Milas, pay attention to the words of davening. It can get you to that place. It's much easier to achieve a consciousness of the Eibusher in our world. But to live with that consciousness so you can trust Hashem to such a way that you're calm, that you know He's taking care of you, it's much harder, okay? So that's why in the Torah, it talks a lot to us. It tells us a lot about, cautions us more regarding bitachon than regarding emunah. Okay, let me see the time. Okay, Baruch Hashem. We're on page 43. Our Rebbe, meaning this is the Frierdiker Rebbe, so he's talking about the Rebbe Rashab. May his soul rest in Gan Eden. Explain the words, and be nourished by your faith as follows. You must nourish and sustain emunah by increasing, expanding, and strengthening it, right? So 1 second, what are we saying here? It says, seemingly, we just said a minute ago, that emunah is revealed in all Yidden, right? We just said right on this side of the page, emunah is revealed, emunah is there, emunah is easy. Just daven a little, learn a little Chassidus, you get emunah easy. But meanwhile, how does it make sense? Because here the Rebbe Rashab is saying, well, we have to increase it, expand it, and strengthen it. What? Okay, so we need to understand the concept of nourishing emunah and why emunah requires nourishment, right? So now you understand? So we're doing this comparison between bitachon and emunah. what's easier, what's harder, which one comes which one comes more naturally to us, which one do we have to. And here the Rebbe Rashab, I apologize, the Rebbe Rashab is saying something slightly different. It says we have to nourish, we have to work on our emunah, we have to really expand it and strengthen it. To explain, emunah is one of the soul powers that is enclosed in the body, specifically in the inner recesses of the brain and the heart. The manner in which emunah is enclosed within the brain and heart transcends human comprehension, just as the manner in which the light and the life force of the nefesh is enclosed in the various parts of the body is wondrous, since they are polar opposites. Okay, so 1 second, let me finish this. It is only possible because it is one of the wonders, quote, wonders of the one of the perfect knowledge, who performs wonders and binds the spiritual soul to the physical body. Okay, so 1 second, what are we saying here? We're saying that emunah, we need to understand emunah a little bit more. In order to understand why the Rebbe Rashab is saying that we should live this life, we should increase, expand, and strengthen our emunah. Even though seemingly the Ramban says that it's easy, it's simple, emunah is easy to work on. The Bitachon, on the other hand, is hard. And the Rebbe Rashab is saying, 1 second, we need to really increase it, we need to expand it, we need to nourish it, we need to take care of it. So, in order to understand this, we have to understand that our emunah lives in our brain, so to speak, it resides in our brain, and it resides in our heart, right? And if that is so, how do we understand this? How is it possible for something spiritual to live within the physical? And it's really funny because many places in Chassidus it speaks about, your sight. We don't really think about our sight. We think about, you just see. And so too with your voice. You don't think about speaking, you just speak. But in reality, it's this unification between a physical entity, an organ, right? So the eye has the ability, has all the right pieces to be able to see. But how come for some people they're blind, chas v'shalom lo aleinu, right? Because it could be because of two reasons. One is because the actual eyes, like the actual eye, has some sort of damage, so therefore it's not able to contain, just like a keli needs to contain a container, like a cup, right? If a cup has a hole, then we can't, even if we pour so much water in it, the water is just going to flow right out of the hole. So if the eye has a damage to it, chas v'shalom lo aleinu, then that eye won't be able to hold and sustain the life force that Hashem is giving it to be able to see. But even if the eye is whole and perfect in the making, right? But Hashem can, at some point, for whatever reason, not bring the or to be able to see. Okay, so that force of sight is very different than an eye. An eye in of itself cannot see. Only because Hashem gives that eye that force, that ability of sight, then those two combined can work to be able to see. So here we're saying that's a very wondrous thing. How is it possible for something spiritual such as sight, or something spiritual such as our nefesh, such as our ruach, our neshama, how can something spiritual live within something physical, which they're such polar opposites? How come our body works in such a way that the polar opposites seem to unite to work together, right? And the end question to this is, we're not going to get into it. The Rebbe Rashab says it's a very complicated explanation. Right now is not the right time to get into it, but it's a very beautiful thing to know, and we're actually going to delve more deeply into this topic tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, of how is it possible for something spiritual such as our neshama, like, what's the difference between, chas v'shalom, someone who's alive and someone who's dead? That neshama is not there. So how can we understand that a neshama that's so spiritual can, so to speak, live within something so spiritual as something so physical as a body, something so grub? It's physicality. But what makes this physicality go? It's that nefesh, that ruach, that like our neshama is what keeps us alive. Let's see time. Okay. So I think we're going to leave off here. We basically are explaining that in our pasuk we start with the concept of bitachon. Through bitachon and doing good, therefore we're going to live a peaceful life, and we're going to be nourished by our emunah. So we're discussing this. One of the main questions we discussed, one of the main things is that the first two lead to the last two. By having bitachon and trusting in Hashem and doing the right things, we actually live a better life, which is amazing, because many people think Torah and mitzvahs are coming here to destroy us, to make us suffer, to, they're just adding more agmas nefesh, more torture to our lives. Chas v'shalom. By trusting in Hashem and doing good, we have a better life. We live a more tranquil life, more peaceful, relaxed, and not only that, but we're nourished by our emunah. And then we started a whole beautiful discussion, the comparison between bitachon and emunah. Why are we talking about bitachon first and then emunah? Bitachon is in a certain sense, much harder. So we explained that bitachon, by having bitachon, you already have emunah. If by having emunah, lav dafka, you have bitachon. By knowing Hashem exists, not necessarily it means you trust in Him. But by trusting in Him, of course, it means you know that Hashem exists. So Hashem is, Hashem is a part of, Hashem creates. And then we leave off with this concept of, which we're going to discuss more deeply tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, about the fact that emunah actually requires nourishment, even though seemingly it's easier. But the Rebbe Rashab explains it actually requires some hard work and requires nourishment. We have to work on it, and so we have to understand where it lies in our body, it lies in our brain, and it lies in our heart. And we're going to discuss this a little bit better. How is it that emunah is in your brain and in your heart? And I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, to continue on with this incredible maamer.